But he's got to make 20 copies, several pages, and everything, which will keep everybody up.
From a legal standpoint,
And chances are, there's three of us gonna be there.
whatever.
We still usually
You guys have
come.
to just
Because
split
anybody
this.
else-
So what's gonna happen
I'm
is
just
if I
gonna be
click
there.
on this, the
Don't
other
leave
tax
it.
entities are gonna say, well, what are you doing? Killing us. So from a
No,
legal
no, that's your, I'm sitting right there, yeah.
if the Board of Aldermen pick all this up, the Board approves it, is there any opportunity for the other tax entities from a legal standpoint to challenge that? Or because they're represented in this commission, that's it?
No, there's absolutely still the ability to challenge it.
Okay. Well, we'll just have the conversation and let the commission pick some direction. Yeah, we need to.
Those are for the board. All those that were on the table.
We need to come up with one more
Like,
clear.
I took my 35 on a car, baseball.
We need to come up with one more clear.
Hey, Jim, how's Ron? He's coming from Barnes and we'll speak. His wife left got him.
Well, that's good
But
news.
they were worried about his bowels, but they got that straighted out this morning.
I have agendas, I'm gonna need those ones back.
They said,
4 ribs were broken.
4?
Yeah, and he's got blood clots in this leg. He left out no concussion, his face is still swollen.
Oh, God, that would have
Shoot it 6 times to get.
Phil, we need to move the city board somewhere else, so we
Do what?
We need one more chair up here for Chauncey.
Oh, you want me to go sit somewhere
No,
else?
I want you to be right here at the head of the table again.
Cousin Butcher there.
We need her to, we need one of her
And Charlotte, about a 700-pound heifer. And they had her hot there, like
got enough here?
Bring her cattle and stuff. Getting them hot, they're crazy. And Charlotte was that way. And it running, trapped him in the corner, just kept bucking and starting. And she was 6 times. They wouldn't get off of him.
We're gonna get you, we'll get you hooked up. Yeah, I want Chauncey right next to me.
Back in the summer.
You gotta be up close to the whole
The
thing
guys
too.
out there, I've had it for a few years. And they come right down.
Um,
Can you guys, I can sit here.
You sure? Is that enough room for
No,
you?
this is fine.
4 ribs and they thought he had
Come up with
concussion,
another.
but
You guys can just
his
shimmy it out a little bit.
bowels
We can
were all
shimmy.
bloody, and they
I'm big, but I'm bendy.
killed the bowel. I didn't know. They were attacked, and it started late last night, this morning. They were more worried about that. And they stuck him in the tube again, second time, and his leg, it's all bruised up, and back where he stomped on it. Worried about blood clots.
We can put that here.
Huh?
We can put that here.
I think I was gonna move over here.
But it's still hard to walk. Yeah,
There's all this, is this new information?
Yeah.
Oh, just the agenda.
That goes in places of patients.
So I might as well start this.
he was lucky he had that helicopter, that's pretty expensive, but when you need cash. Ron, his father died, his father was not ours, it's our brother.
Grab a chair.
Well, initial, that's send it over, get it over with.
Yeah, I think we should.
Because then you'll have to repass it around.
I think Charlie Brown thinks, but they're kind of that way, you get them.
I don't know, Martin
riled up,
had
they
these.
get hot blooded, they
Who needs to pull us out?
Just whoever's on that list, as initial.
She said she got in the corner, just kept butting him stomping. They
Okay,
couldn't
so
get off.
Martin just said,
And his cousin was coming in trying to get him out, she even had
Well,
him.
that's for the.
He left out and didn't get anything broke out.
yeah, so
And I said, Saturday morning, go down Bush. Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was. That's
I said, maybe somebody just looked there and reported.
you know what was she?
I was on a mission,
Yeah, I see that.
like always.
Uh-huh.
Pardon me?
Just sign that.
Looks like it. we got next to it right here, we're gonna ask you for
I
everything
wouldn't
now.
tell me that.
For everything now.
This meeting is tightly and finally, as you did the last one and get us home at a reasonable hour, you'll be my hero forever.
Listen, 8 o'clock.
That sounds like
If we're
a,
not
Before.
having progress, that's it.
okay.
I mean, if it's just a roundtable discussion with no decisions, 2 hours is enough.
Okay,
If it's good work taking place,
that's, yeah,
totally different deal.
right,
But I'm with you on, thank you.
okay. You did a good job.
Did you? I think it's just.
There should be just the agendas floating around out there. The rest of the stuff on the
It's
table's
gonna
on the
be
board.
political, and probably could get political right here between the council before we get it through. Other than that. I'm all or nothing. I think we need to try to get 4th Street and take 61 from one end to the other. Great opportunity. We're not, these other folks feel that way, we'll find out in a minute.
Yeah. Time waits for no one in City Hall. 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I know, but we need So this is an addendum?
Yeah, that'll replace the page and
Do you know what
that
page?
added the new budget items you added last time.
Do you know where that is in page 25?
This is just.
Yeah, I know you can do that.
Well, Chauncey.
How about you?
Fine.
This language in the minutes,
About some of those things.
this was
What do you
actually
thought?
addressed that evening.
That'd be important.
She did express
Especially
concerns
since it's
about
You get rid of the pound around the side of the building.
evaluation.
Yeah, she did say that.
And it was addressed that night, but that's not included in the minutes, and I don't know exactly.
Okay, all of them.
Because there should be no additional appeals, it's exactly, this is just the anchor.
So, here's what I thought.
Right,
Once we got started,
I don't think the minutes, I mean, they
They don't
don't
need to be done, okay.
comment.
necessarily
These
be
two people right here. and
Okay.
we'll direct it
Okay.
Specifically for math issues.
Quite a bit.
No,
Because this is going to be working. We've got to come away from the meeting.
I was gonna say, that's kinda old.
Because I gotta get the damn notices in the paper. I can't
Gotcha.
wait.
Gotcha.
Did you get this? Email to you?
I did.
You call the meeting order, there you go. Good evening, everyone. We'll call this meeting to order. Is there an acceptance of the agenda?
Move and make the agenda accepted.
A second.
Favor? Aye. Opposed? I hope everyone has had a chance to review the minutes from our previous official meeting.
I have, I so moved that they be approved as read.
I'll second.
In favor? Aye. Opposed? Discussion of the boundaries for the TIF.
Talking to her. Sorry, go ahead.
That's why we're here tonight. This is a working session. Plan to take limited public comments and try to get a lot of work done in a short amount of time. The goal for tonight's meeting is to come away with a map that we will present to the Board of Aldermen. So I'd like to start with public comments. We'd ask you to be very specific about the map and to hold your comments as short and concise as possible. Is there any public comment?
I have a public comment.
Linda, would you state, Linda, would you state your name, please?
Linda Caney, no owner of Caney Country Value, my husband and I. But we saw, read about the TIF, and the reason I'm here tonight is because we saw that there were businesses around us being included in the TIF, and we were not included. And we would like to be included because we spent over $20,000 in the last few years, 5 years, just doing improvements, but there's still a piece of projects we would like to do for business, and the hotel project, we continue those projects, because right now I'm going to tie from what we've done already, so even though we're existing business, we would like to be included, because I think it would help us get some of our projects done.
And can you tell everyone, make sure everybody knows your business and the address?
I can't. What did you say?
The address of your business? The address of your business?
601 St. Genevieve Drive.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Comment.
That's all right.
My name is Carl Ware. I live at 758 Valley Spring Trails. Just have one question to ask. Has there been or will there be a feasibility study done on this before anything is passed? That's all I'm asking. Feasibility study.
Yes.
You sure of that?
There will be a cost-benefit analysis prepared.
Thank you. That's all that is.
Yes, ma'am.
My name's Leanne Shantz. I'm here on behalf of Seabond Corporation. I know within the next few years, they're planning on rebuilding our station and that, so we would also like to be considered to be included in it.
What's the address of the?
599 St. Genevieve Drive.
Other public comments? Well, it looks like we have some input. I don't know if the rest of the commission members have received as many phone calls as I did in the last week about the boundaries of the TIF. Let's keep in mind that initially, this entire project was about downtown, the central business district. So the funding the city put in 2010 and 11, everything was geared towards downtown. So as the information about the TIF has been spread around town, and things have popped up on the map in different places, raised a lot of questions. And I know I can see at least 2 business owners and people representing at least one more business on Highway 61. So I think what we have to determine today, this evening, Yes, and we need to do it this evening. Chauncey has got an awful lot of work to do after we get this map finished off. Are we going to stay to the initial central business district and stay downtown? Or do we want to look at the opportunity to create economic development up 4th Street, 32, and then on Highway 61 from one end of town to the other? City limits, excuse me. Only commercial properties. I think that the ire that I have taken most this week is picking certain businesses without allowing opportunity to other businesses. So I think that there's a lot to be discussed about that. What the other taxing entities, how they're going to feel about pulling Highway 61 corridor into this particular TIF. Options of creating a separate and another TIF for that area. I think the marina is also one of the areas on the map that needs some discussion, but I don't think it needs a lot of discussion. It has to be in city limits to be on the map that goes to the Board of Aldermen. So I think that with conversations with representatives of the marina, there is an opportunity for friendly annexation. That time frame may need to be discussed, so we understand how long that has to happen before the board can approve the area of the TIF, and if that would create any unreasonable holdbacks. It doesn't look like it would. It looks like that could be done if people got right after it in maybe a short time, like 2 months, maybe 10 weeks, maybe 6 weeks. So, Chauncey, would you like to give us some thoughts that you have and show us a new map?
Well, a couple things. I'd like to throw this up there to start off with. And what that particular map is, if you all can look at it, is a map of the floodplain, of both the Mississippi River floodplain and also the both Gabourets have got some blue on them, and showing that those are handled or treated differently, I guess, with the TIF. Would I be saying that correct?
Right, whether or not it's a
properly?
river floodplain
Yeah.
versus a
Or
or
a
headwater, I think Martin said it was.
Yeah.
So there is a statute that prohibits TIFs in hunting heritage areas, 100-year floodplains related to the Mississippi or Missouri River, with some very limited exceptions. We reviewed that map, your redevelopment area as depicted originally, and we have determined that really the vast majority of that floodplain due to the river needs to be removed from the redevelopment area. There isn't an exception that would allow for that we would be comfortable with, allowing that to be in the TIF. Based on my discussion with Martin, there is some of the area, it looks like some of the lakes that are coming off the large area, that may not be attributable to the river. And if that is the case, that statute would not apply. And what we would ask is that if Chauncey could possibly provide an exhibit in the redevelopment plan that shows that that flood area, that 100-year flood area, is not related to the river, but otherwise other waterways. So
Okay.
this area in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that area for, I guess for the locals who understand what we're talking about, that would be the old mill up on the northern side and the old Kisco building down on the southern side, which would be included in those areas.
Say that again, please.
No, but
This is
This map,
the
I-
old Kisco.
Yeah.
I assume
And this is the
Chauncey
mill up here.
So that'd be
Would be, could be in because those are on the creeks, not on the river.
Right. I mean, the base flood elevation is set by either or both of those considerations, the backwater consideration and the headwater consideration. And I think you can get the data, if you don't already have it, of which is which. But when you get a FEMA map of the base flood, it doesn't distinguish.
Doesn't distinguish them.
So, and I assume that's what this is the
Yes,
base-
yeah,
base
that's
flood
the,
map.
that's the D farm.
Okay.
Anything else?
So, what does that tell us? We need to,
What that
we need to
tell-
take the, we can keep in the tributary
Well,
areas?
what we would like to see is a map that distinguishes the floodplain based on the river versus other waterway,
Okay,
okay? And if it is other waterway, it can stay in the redevelopment area, the property that overlaps that. If it is in the river 100-year floodplain, it needs to be removed. So essentially, I assume all of this is related to the river, and so
So
the
is
vast
that-
majority of that would be
That
coming
is
out.
essentially the area from North Main to the levee?
Now, Shannon, when property owners have property that as a result of fill is above the base flood elevation, they may apply to FEMA for a letter of map amendment. And when it's granted, the maps don't change. The letter of map amendment is filed, and that information is available to all concerned, but you won't get it by looking at the flood insurance rate maps. So like the marina is shown here, but I'm told it is above the base flood elevation.
I mean, if we could get some documentation. Yeah. If we could get some documentation from FEMA that that area is now outside of that floodplain.
So it's an elevation certificate.
Right, and we would, it's an elevation certificate, so that doesn't, we could look into that.
Kathy?
Well, let us look into that.
The area that is between North Main and the levee, which is protected by the levee, has 16 seep wells that specifically are there to, so that that land serves as a detention basin in the event that the water pressure on the river side of the levee is sufficient to cause that basin to fill. And it's my recollection that nothing can ever be built there.
So, the area between North Main and the levee, that specifically is the area that we know we need to close the map in from the levee to the easement of North Main, or North Main Street.
That's all it is.
And so what's the resolution on how we put the tributaries? Do we need further documentation from that as a new map?
Right, I need to see some evidence, we would need to see some evidence to see if these are based on the river versus another waterway.
creeks.
Yeah. And I don't know what that documentation is, but you and Martin.
What does that do to your continuous line from the point where you're gonna do the
Well, we-
exclusion to the point where the old marina was? Because that would no longer be continuous now?
Well,
And I
and the
think we have
boundaries
that.
need to be, we believe the boundaries need to be contiguous. And so if it ran down here, we'd have to find a
You
way
would
to get
simply
jump
pull it
that
over to
line.
Main Street on this side of the creek?
I'm sorry, can you show me where Main Street is on this map?
right, it's right here.
Yeah.
So down here, but we'd have to find a way to figure out if that is
Can you
river
not,
or.
can you not cross it even?
I mean, just as a point of information, because that is the only part, from what I know of, on any of that side of the street, that is actually above the floodplain, the required floodplain level.
Well, and I understand it. The statute that I'm referring to actually relies on a designation by FEMA. And so we would need to get documentation from FEMA about all of this area if you want to include it.
Okay.
Okay? And not just a surveyor coming out for elevations,
Yeah.
because the statute specifically talks about a designation by FEMA.
Okay.
So,
I think Ms. Wallace is very well informed.
Yeah, but I was talking about a whole different piece of property from what she was.
you're talking about down here,
Yeah, I thought we were
down here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see,
Because that would, if you remove the north part, because that's where your continuous line goes.
right, and on this map, that's all shown in the floodplain too.
Oh, okay, okay.
So that's, if you want to look
That'd
at,
be up to you to find out.
yeah,
Okay,
so.
just wanted to see how that was going.
So I don't know.
Does everybody have a clear understanding of what we're talking about?
I think so.
Okay. I guess we need to discuss, if I can have everyone's attention, please. To discuss the Highway 61 corridor. This board needs to make a recommendation to either stay with the central business district, the downtown area, or to come up somehow to Highway 61, whether that's 4th Street or another method, and to bring that into this TIF project. We've heard from some business owners that they have real improvements and investments planned. My personal thought is very simple. I want to throw a blanket over the entire town of St. Genevieve and promote as much economic development as possible. I don't think that's very realistic. But we need as a commission to determine, I think the elephant in the room is to determine whether we stay downtown or we work ourselves up to Highway 61. And I think it's just wrong to try to pick a few businesses without giving that opportunity to all the businesses on the Highway 61 corridor. I think that it's not a political issue to me. I think it's just bad business that for this commission to try to move in that direction. So, thoughts?
One of the things that I've heard, without attribution, is that, and I know this to be true from general planning principles, whenever you draw a line that enables or disables someone to use their property or take advantage of an opportunity, you create an artificial economy. Well, all of a sudden, property A was worth 10 and property B was worth 10, and now because of some special condition, positive or negative, property A is worth 15 and property B is worth 10 just because the line was drawn. So I think when you draw lines, you need to ask yourself the question, what public purpose is being served at the risk of creating these artificial distinctions? And is it worth that cost? Which proves the point.
Well,
There's also, I was very encouraged actually by how much public support there seemed to be for the concept of economic development and for investing in their properties. And certainly that's what we're trying to encourage with the TIF concept in general. I certainly understand why the alderman and the mayor and the city administrator were interested in having a focus on the downtown area, and I think it may make sense to have another focus, a separate focus, however you want to look at it, on the business district along 61 and 32, and being careful, as Martin points out, about drawing that line in such a way that the businesses would be included. Because you don't know, the person that owns it now might not own it 15 or 20 years from now when this is still in effect. So the possibilities are, as you pointed out, that either extend it along these corridors under one, or consider them as two areas and make a recommendation based on the existing focus on downtown, and possibly make a recommendation for an additional focus on the 6132 corridor.
And I think thank you. I think you clearly stated what the decision we need to make tonight. The biggest decision is through discussion and then a vote is do we stay in the central business district downtown, or do we try to pick that up? We all want that economic development to occur. Is this the right vehicle and the right time to try to pull that all together? From a, the other taxing entities, I think that it wasn't too hard to give up downtown, that the taxes from downtown. It just wasn't a difficult decision. Yeah, you guys go do what you want to do downtown. That doesn't really bother us or impact us much. So I think the big question is the impact to the other taxing entities other than the city of St. Genevieve along the Highway 61 corridor. And so sitting at this table, those other taxing entities are represented. So if you have had an opportunity to form opinions or have insights, this would be a really good time to share that with the commission.
If we focus on the downtown, how long would it take to turn around and put another TIF together? If you omitted it from this, how long would it take to form another TIF for the 6132 corridor? If you kept them separate, or can that be done?
Have two redevelopment areas under one plan.
You can still have two under one plan?
Two totally distinct redevelopment areas that do not join? You could no?
You could connect them.
We use the 4th Street as a connector.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
4th Street, actually, Highway 32.
Yeah, Highway 32, yeah. Highway 32 and 4th Street as the connector for the two areas.
I mean, if you wanted to do it simultaneously with this TIF, it could be added under this plan. It could also be a separate plan, which Chauncey you'd have to look at that property to see if it meets the factors to either be a blighted area or a conservation area. And, one thing I would like to state again, I think I mentioned it at our last meeting, was that, the statute is not clear about what properties, doesn't give a whole lot of guidance about what properties can be in a TIF. It does state two things. One, that there has to be a direct and substantial benefit to the TIF for a property to be included. And two, that the factors that Chauncey will be putting together that make this area a conservation area need to apply to the area as a whole. Not every parcel, but as a whole, the area must meet that designation. So if you start adding properties and you're taking away, at some point, you're going to tip the scales. I just want you to keep that in mind. Okay?
We've got one other thing that I'd like for you all to consider. When you start looking at putting this blanket over the city, and I know we're not going to include the whole thing, but you start putting all of your commercial property in, or a big part of your commercial property. We run the risk of failure from one or more of those businesses. If the business is not a real viable business, and they had been in business for a while, and you look at and you count their base, and they go out of business, then everybody else has got to make up that amount before you hit your base again and form an increment. So there's some risk involved when you start spreading it too broadly among existing businesses.
But don't you have the same thing, Chauncey, if you got one business gonna take advantage of more than the rest of them, doesn't that create the same situation even, let's just use the downtown area or something.
I guess I'm not following what you're saying.
If you got so much money that you can put out or use, and if you got one business using substantially more than the other and would fail, don't you create that same risk? I'm just asking.
Well, not really. Not really, because that business or the businesses that will be using the funds will also be generating the funds. So you can't really, I don't think you've got an equal, my concern is that someone that's not using the funds is part of it, and you make them a part of the base, but they were viable and operating well. Last year, this year, next year, they go away. And the city has some history with that. The Grandpa's is a prime example of what happened there, when you had something that was very viable, doing good, and went away, and then everything else had to make up the difference.
Yes, Kathy?
I'd like to, first of all, say that I agree with what Tom said. I think it would be the perfect world if we could put that blanket all over the whole city. But that being said, I'd also like to say that I'm encouraged by the business owners that are here. I think we have an unusually good situation here where people are lining up, they want to be in our TIF. That's not a common occurrence. So thank you to all the business owners who are following this and want to participate. That being said, I do think that we need to keep this focus, as the title of the project is, the downtown project, which should not preclude growing another one sooner rather than later. I think the fact that so many businesses want to participate should encourage us as a community to move the downtown TIF project along so that we can follow up as soon as possible with a second TIF, with a phase 2, as it were, with a different name in a different commercial area. And I think that's the only fair way to have the other the taxing entities involved just not be slammed so hard all at one time.
I have to agree. I think it would, yeah. I guess the thing that I come to most is that I know that there was a committee that spent a lot of time studying and laying groundwork for the current project. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And they have carefully looked at and mapped out and analyzed this downtown area, and the taxing entities can feel comfortable about it because there was a lot of groundwork done and those things were considered. I think if we just willy-nilly start grabbing this property and that property and this property, the proper study and foundation for it hasn't been laid. I agree with Kathy that a second project that gets equal attention and appropriate preparation and study would definitely be called for, obviously, by the number of business owners that are interested in that second area. But I just don't think it's wise to start creating an amorphous thing here that just, without consideration, continues to grow. I think we need to be cautious and stay within the boundaries that have been studied and recommended.
Buck, what do you think? You're doing a lot of head nodding. I'd like to hear from you.
I agree with Shelley and Kathy, but I guess we started growing this thing. We did have the whole downtown. All of a sudden, we went out market. So that's something that do we stick with like the Belfast property now, and then we went up Chadwell, you know, and hit 61. I was surprised about that. I knew it was in there, but I mean.
Well, that didn't come through the committee.
Right.
That was never discussed in the committee.
That's my recollection also, Tom,
Yeah.
that it wasn't. Bill Best's property was my recollection.
Bill Best was, and it was discussed at great length in the committee.
Yeah.
And as a member of the committee, that was exactly what happened. You know, we looked at the central business district, and then we looked at, this is an opportunity. What we want to maximize this opportunity. And we looked at Bill Best, the Bill Best property, for example, as trying to create some incentive through the TIF proposal for somebody to come in and do something with that building. And, you know, our open conversation at that time wasn't even so much about, it wasn't about sales tax, which, you know, a wholesale business is not going to pay any sales tax. It was about job creation. And you know, somebody could come in there and take that whole building and create 10 jobs, or they could come in there and create several hundred jobs. Now, that's opportunity. So I think that's the exact same, and so we kind of, that's where we're at right now, looking at creating as much opportunity as possible, and getting ourselves out to the corridor, the 61 corridor, and picking that up. Chauncey, there was a question that maybe I missed the answer on. If we move forward with the core area downtown, and try and move to create another TIF along the I-61 corridor, what kind of timing, or, excuse me,
Yeah.
not I-61.
And Tom, I'll even mention, my daughter, everybody knows that she's trying to get a flash spot. She's not gonna wait on the TIF anyway.
Right.
And she wasn't planning on the TIF for that. So I don't, she doesn't have a problem on that end of 61.
Right.
And I think that's what Scotty, we're not gonna wait on it. She's not gonna wait on it. I should say we. She's not gonna wait on it.
So, how long would it take to?
Depends on how you do it. If we go in and do an umbilical to tie that area in, we can do it in the same time frame that we're talking about now, in this color.
32 and 61.
Well, we got to be careful about 32, because you can't get the 32 without crossing over into your existing TIF that's already there, and I don't think we want to do that.
Stay on.
You can we?
I don't know.
Well, I
I don't know how you
think,
do
which
that.
part of 32 are you talking about?
Quality
Because
mufflers.
32 turns in, 4th Street turns into 32
Well, going,
right to tracks, but I don't think that's in that TIF area.
no, on the other side of.
That's what I think the misunderstanding is right now.
4th Street, when it crosses the
Yeah.
tracks, becomes 32.
I got you.
I think we're talking about, you're talking about the intersection.
I was thinking the intersection
61.
of
Right, that's,
61.
I wanted to
and
clarify that,
west.
because there were some businesses there that
32 inch in the track.
I have on the list that want to be in the TIF.
So I don't feel like we're any farther along than we were
Well-
a few minutes ago. Chauncey,
Let me finish my statement, if you don't mind.
please.
We could go ahead and do it like that. We could go ahead and just tie it in and do it all at the same time, have your public hearing March 4th, and you know, and say yay. Or, I think a better option would be to get this in place and you know, and see how everything's going, and just get a better feeling, and maybe come back and amend the plan in 6 months or a year or whatever, and then include that area at that time. You know, those would be the two options. And I never did answer your question about how long it takes. It takes exactly as long as this one's taking.
Okay.
You know, the board of aldermen will have to say, hey, you know, we want to go forward. You reconvene the TIF commission, and then you wind up about 3 months, basically.
So 6 months from now, we could come back and amend the map.
Well, you can amend the plan, or you can
Amend the
start a
plan,
brand new.
excuse me.
Did I misspeak on that,
So,
councilors?
so if there were business owners, developers, investors that had specific plans, they could come to us and say, look, we want to participate, this is what we want to do, but then we still have, we'd still need to pick the whole, I guess my thought is, if we're gonna do anything on Highway 61, we gotta do the whole thing. So it sounds, so do we do that now? Do we take care of what all the work and the foundation's been laid to get this done for the central business district or downtown? And then at a future point, allow the conversation to continue about the Highway 61 corridor.
I have a comment that, I know you probably don't want to hear this because you've already heard it, but some of the aldermen are already being besieged by the business owners out there. And we either do it now or we do it now and then we do it again later. It's kind of either or, and, why take the same hill twice? We're sitting here, we got it. I mean, that's just my thinking. If it can be done, why not do it, get it over with, and then we don't have to come back in 6 months and go through the same thing again. But if that's not good, that's fine too. Go ahead, Kathy.
Yes, but there hasn't been the background work and the study of the project area specifically by the committee that did the study.
Oh, I see. Okay.
On the downtown area.
Okay.
So it could turn out to be the proverbial pig in a poke, as it were.
Yeah,
okay.
And while yes, I know everyone is besieged, and it's, again, I'll say,
It's a wonderful
it's an unusual and wonderful economic development outcome that people are begging to be included. That would cause us to move faster rather than slower.
Okay.
But there hasn't been the background work. I think that might not be as good.
The conversations haven't taken place with the other taxing entities. I guess what should be our next step is to pull the map out again and redraw lines and then let everybody in the commission give their input and then take a vote? Or what is our next move? Johnson? Old buddy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can, I think probably if, decide what you want to do, we can come back together.
Well, I would like to add one more thing.
I'm trying to think how to write this legal description.
About coming back together. Alderman Steiger?
What's the cost associated between amending a plan and creating a new plan? I know we incur, some legal costs. This Cunningham services aren't free, and I know CMOs is not free. What's the cost associated between amending a plan and also creating a new plan? And along with that, kind of what are the pros and cons of the way we've got it set up now between amending it 6 months or a year from now and creating a new one? I guess I'm still not quite sure. I know both options are available, but if we leave the map as it is now, what do you foresee pros and cons to amending it in 6 months or so or creating a new one?
Let me take a run at that, and correct me when I stumble. I think that if you amend it and include the 61 area with the downtown, depending on how you write that amendment, I believe you'd be able to move money from downtown to Highway 61 or from 61 to downtown without any issue. If you write a new plan, they would be both standalone plans.
But there'd be two separate bases.
Two separate ones, two separate bases.
But legally, you can't leave them out how it is, can you? Not everybody's been approached and like, my neighbors are in it and I'm not, so you can't leave them plain like it is now.
Well, that's exactly what we're working through.
Because it needs to be equal basis
That-
for all businesses.
You're right, and that is what we're working through now.
I mean, they could be open themselves up to lawsuits if it's not equal.
Regardless, at some point, you draw a line. There's a
Yeah.
property on one side and a property on the other side.
So,
One,
please.
just one point, with the exceptions of what I said earlier today about what the TIF Act says in terms of guidance for you all and what properties can be in and can be out, there is, the boundaries can be whatever they are, whatever you want. So I just want to make sure that you all understand that it's not necessarily a legal issue as much as it is a political one. Okay?
Did everybody hear that?
No?
Okay. We'll try again, please.
On the top?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Just to repeat again, there are a few factors that the TIF Act provides, some guidance points that the TIF Act will give you to show you how to draw these boundaries. Outside of those, the issue really becomes a political one as opposed to a legal one. And so I just want to make sure you understand the boundaries can be oddly shaped, properties can be omitted with, my caveats that I said earlier. So again, I think it's a political issue.
And just also to clarify, our role as a commission is to make the recommendation to the alderman in terms of what the boundaries are that we would suggest, and then in terms of the projects within those boundaries, what's approved and not approved is to be determined by the alderman.
Right, but once you all hold your public hearing, the boundaries are set.
Right.
The board cannot change the boundaries after that without coming back to you all for an amendment and a new public hearing. Okay?
Yeah.
I think what Alderman Steiger asked, the financial obligations, what are the differences if we include the corridor now versus an amendment or a separate TIF? What kind of financial obligations would there be?
I think from we bill the city on the hour, and our time would probably be about the same for both those. Chauncey?
Probably cheaper to go ahead and include it now than it would be to go back and amend it. Go back and amend it, you gotta go through the whole process again. You go out and do quite a bit of field work and all of that.
But I guess my question is more towards it, amend it or create a new one, not opposed to changing what you have now. If we basically keep the map as it is now.
I don't see it being a whole lot of difference in price because it's the same process.
Okay, that was my question.
Circulate this, what do I look at?
No, it's up to you. I mean, that's
Well,
one,
we're gonna have
that's
to
one
vote,
option.
we're gonna have to vote on something.
I'd like
Please,
to ask Alderman Steiger a question.
please.
Alderman Steiger, let me ask you this, because you may face it in a month or so, or 2 weeks, or whatever down the road, this week, give you our plan, and you get enough pressure from the people in your ward that they want to be included in this TIF. Is it conceivable that the alderman may turn it down until we include them?
Just like Ms. Craig said, it's a political issue, so yeah, I think if you have enough, just like Kathy said, it's a good problem to have. You have these businesses that want to come to you and take advantage of this TIF. I mean, it's a good problem to have. We want to listen to these businesses that if they're wanting to invest and grow and add value and possibly jobs, of course. I think that is going to weigh heavily on the board's opinion of the TIF plan.
So you can see a scenario where we would approve the plan as is, send it to you, and from outside pressure say, we'd like to see you redraw the boundaries?
We have the public hearing in March 4th or 8th, I think it's, and then after that, I'm not sure, I think the next step then after the public hearing, it basically just comes to the board and gets voted on.
Right, I mean, at the time of the public hearing, the plan is pretty much final. And then there's a recommendation to the board, and that plan would go to you all. If you chose not to approve the plan as prepared, then it would die. If there was if you wanted to change the boundaries, it would have to come back to the commission, the process would start again.
So you have a long time between now and April, that businesses might be concerned about the way the map is shaped.
It's gotta be done for the public hearing, right?
Gotta have to be done before the public hearing.
I'm saying, if you approve it tonight, and the public hearing, between now and then, you're gonna have. Well, why didn't you come out earlier?
Oh, yeah.
Right, you said April, that's why.
I will say,
Public hearings in March.
Can I get some, everybody, please? One person at a time.
I would like to make a point that the boundaries actually have to be final by mid-February, so that Chauncey can get notices out to the property owners, whoever's in or out, so.
So this is a decision that this commission needs to make tonight to move forward to the Alderman.
I think she said mid-February.
Well, there is a publication that has to happen.
We gotta get notice to the newspaper, probably Thursday. Toby, when do I need to get notice in to publish next week?
Friday, Saturday, early Monday morning.
You come pick it up Sunday morning from my house?
That's a good deal.
Anytime. I'm not opposed to downtown separate from us, but that's, I guess, my big feeling is that it's cherry pickle businesses. I have a business we goes down that is in the TIF and
All right.
So if the boundaries like that, they should be equal.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
We-
it's the open and up the law.
I believe we've-
You can get people one people the other.
I believe we've covered that substantially. Just picking of occasional businesses on Highway 61 is probably not what this commission wants to move forward with. I have a map here. I'm going to have to pass it around one at a time. I'd like to explain it to you, Ron, so if you could pass it on down around. So on this map,
Big on that, we're gonna do this.
we've taken out the floodplain area.
There's that in there.
See, we didn't draw. We didn't draw it. Yeah, see, we cut this
Marina
back there.
off, because that again, if there's no, that's not, it's not ready. It's just not ready to happen. So it's going to pick up this the downtown area, come back. It does include the Built West property, to come up and pick the Built West property up.
Would it get the old TIFCO also?
Yeah.
Could we do this, is this doing it before March first?
Do that tomorrow.
Downtown. This
I
doesn't
mean,
go up
to send out the
Highway 61.
notices.
That'd be great, downtown needs that, I'm all for that.
As with
It's coming right to you.
As with the highway properties, should the owners of the marina petition for annexation and they go through that process, whenever there is a revision, it could also be revised to pick up that area.
Right. So there is further opportunity along with this, but very good point made that all the work to date has been done for the central business district downtown. That's where we are. Now, we got a little drunk with opportunity, and I'm as guilty as anyone, thinking, wouldn't it be great to go and pick this up and that up and keep growing? But
Let's see,
with the,
this cuts this.
there's downside to that.
Because it's the old mill.
So for tonight, if the commissioners would please look at this map, have that discussion, and we'll try to make a broad decision.
Look at this one, it shows again.
It's different.
Pass this side.
I don't know how. Okay. If I just say it in the plan, will it be accepted?
Martin seems to think there's something out there that's something. Martin seems to think that there's something that says this is.
We can make a call to the court. I don't think that. So how do we know how?
That's supposed to be the question.
How can we call this the creek instead of the river?
Because it is.
Floodplain.
It's
Yeah, I
a
know.
distribution river, Oak Creek.
Yeah, no.
And they are.
Want to see something in the plan. Does he know how to do that? Did you ask him?
No, we were talking about something.
He said there was something, the differentiation between backwater flooding over and headwater flooding. Water going this way versus water flooding this way. There's a line somewhere that.
Yeah, there is. I don't know exactly where it's at.
Right here.
But yeah, in the flood basin, there's two, you only do one.
Oh, you're right.
And it's all right there. Everybody has the same idea.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say on this one.
So, and lettuce in the river is actually lower than the creek. And it's not flood, it can't run, just sit there until the river goes down. And then, so it's not real. Where a creature habits. Try to be safe from the big flood, but then by the, you flood yourself to the backside. Going down to the basement to get away from the flood. It's gonna flood first. You're right. Closing the door doesn't do it, does it?
I wonder if that's what is supposed to collect in this
It
area.
does. This is the bonding area.
Yeah.
That's why.
But that's got limited storage.
Go back and forth.
So you work with John? That's my understanding. That's a good Many people know about it.
I don't know. Why would we want that? Does he understand? Yeah, let's, we don't.
No, Martin was like, no.
I'll take seven.
Mayor thinks we do. Now,
See, that's
The mill goes way back, yeah.
See, Chauncey, that's what I tried to tell them. He's older. It's like election year. And all these businesses out there.
yeah, yeah. Do you want to?
It's a good time to stir it
That
up.
would be a good time to amend the plan if you want to use that as a main and just go ahead and do it.
Oh, yeah. Put it in.
Yeah.
Get over this one.
I would prefer to do that because I'm lazy. Let's just get right down to it.
Well, you
Okay?
got a lot of work.
Oh, no, had no time to do it.
Right.
It's huge.
36 degrees.
Mm.
No one on it. Yeah, they were, she's 76.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
That's more letters.
65 degrees.
It's down considerably.
So it is?
Yeah.
If they do it?
Yeah,
I like
You add
it
all those
better.
in,
300 or something.
that's like a week's worth.
You can, they can get instead of.
Yeah, we got the database stuff.
What do you do now? Start on it tomorrow.
Yeah, it's gonna have to.
Except for
Yeah, I want that. Let's do that.
what are
That's public.
It's somebody's house. It's a really nice house, big historic home. Yeah, I want to cut this off right here. This is the veteran VFW home.
What, why? It's not like support our troops, but we have laws.
A couple of folks on the steering committee, or whatever you want to call it, but they're not. But they're not in the best financial shape. Yeah, what happens, it's a nice building, what happens if they fall down? And it's a nice property to have. you know, that somebody can incentivize someone else to come and do it. Had the same conversation.
No, but,
Since I'm in the park. We gotta put that in, because maybe we can help somebody come back and develop it.
Now's your time.
So, but I just want to do this right now.
I like that way better.
I do too.
Makes sense.
Especially if it's downtown.
So it had to be right.
That's more downtown than western.
Not like my other
But
place
it
out
can't,
on
you know,
61 on Drive.
it needs to be bought into by the folks. Yeah. There was some thought went into doing all this stuff.
I just haven't gotten it.
And there's, I don't see a lot of reasons to put the cemetery in. This is so just most of
We both live in St.
Got a
Louis
really
City.
high base. That's really good.
So, what do they want to do? This is the Bill Best property?
Yeah.
What do they want to do with that?
There's a couple of businesses that are looking at it and then turn it back on.
Honestly, the one thing that we might change off that, everybody's happy, is there is a building in North Main Street, down here, right here. This gentleman has recently, it's not too long ago, bought that. There's an old brick building that was flood damaged. Kind of the only one right there.
Let's look at our map, our flood map real quick.
Pick it up and it would be in flood.
See if it's on the map, in the flood map.
No. Because it's right there. It's just, see, that's White Road, the White Sands Road. It's just right there on this side.
This is
The dump, the road that goes to the dump.
Yeah.
So it's right here.
You mean the old brick building that,
Is he here? That gentleman
Thank
here?
you, in Linda Stadium?
Look at it on here, you can see it real good here.
What do you think?
Is he gonna
It's not in the
develop it
blue area.
Yeah.
No matter what?
No, it's on the, it's in the right area.
Please tell me exactly what you think.
I mean, first of all, politically, again, this is not my call, this is your call. But, I mean, you're moving the issue from down over here.
Well,
Okay, fine.
it's just this lot right here. So.
Are you gonna include all of this?
Yeah, see, that's what's gonna happen. That's what we got in this messy person. Well, let's get this and let's get that. So, we're about to fall right back into the muddle. But, this is realistically in the downtown area. You know, we're
There used to be a business on the other side of that house, or on the same corner. The old meat
Those are
market.
all residentials, probably.
Well, these are buyout lots. These are buyout, or FEMA lots. We can't do anything with them except for this one. This one is, that one is, this one right here is, that one there is, that one is. These are FEMA buyout lots, right up to it.
You can't do anything with it. Well, that would be a good spot for your RV park.
Down here.
Yeah.
Plus include
Well, draw it on there and I'll fix it tomorrow.
Well, I'll just draw on this one.
Now, this is a hell of a lot easier to read, don't
And these FEMA lots are out of the floodplain now?
And they're not on here.
Yeah.
You can't put any permanent structures on them, but you could put a restroom or something
No,
like that.
come on, would you please come back? I'm sorry, I didn't put that in.
That's Mr. Tim Kinsel.
No, this is your property right here. Correct. And that's not a FEMA buyout property.
A FEMA buyout, I bought it from a gentleman, no, it's titled and everything. It's got a
You can
house.
build on. Yeah, I know there's a house there now.
There's a house on the property.
Yeah.
He bought it.
So this is it.
That house was to buy a brick house.
Department of Natural Resources
Yeah,
had
right.
owned it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then you purchased it.
Yeah.
It's the only house you have.
For the first block back. Latrell?
No.
How do you feel about that?
You want to take all this stuff then?
Well, I don't know. What do you think?
Well,
What do
the
you
only
think
thing
about it?
I'm a
Should
little
we just-
concerned about is,
We come down and just pick it up?
well, I don't see real issue
The
here.
floodplain
See, some of this
is
stuff.
right here.
Yeah, well, that's the creek thing.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
you gotta figure that out anyway. I mean, why not be taking property out of there unless we can get that at, something.
19 teams.
But what you're looking at is like all in here, right? Right up here?
Oh, but that's
Yeah,
not here?
this is that street. So that's not a.
This isn't, but this, see, this is that point right there.
Oh, that's where you were gonna stop.
Yeah.
But you were gonna have this or take that out soon?
Well, we want to put that in, because this is stuff that we ought to have in.
So you're gonna have to figure that out
This is the
anyway.
old dump, and Wiener's dump and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so you just want to mosey up through there and grab that.
Any way you feel like that, I think it's gonna be okay. I want to call for a motion to approve.
I think, well, that's the reason he's building that. He put it under there. He's got.
Could I have your attention, please? Did all the commissioners have an
Got a gavel back there.
I never get to use the gavel, so I might try that. Quiet, please. Have all the commissioners had an opportunity to view this map? Of the map that you just looked at, the only amendment is about one block over, one block down to pick up one more structure. Does anybody have any further questions? We'll give this to Chauncey, and then he'll clean it up. But would anybody want to make a motion to approve this as drawn that Chauncey will clean up?
I'd like to make a motion, we approve
Go ahead.
the new map as drawn and to be brought back before the committee.
Second? Second. Discussion?
Just one question. When we were talking about amendments and coming back and amending this,
Oh, yeah.
if we set this boundary and we come back later to amend it, does that push that out from 23 years to 33 years, or how does that work?
No, that would still be the same clock. You did?
We could.
Yeah, because the clock.
Oh, so start a new RPA, the section in the amendment? Yeah, you could. You could go out another 10 years if you
But
wanted
it's not
to.
necessarily happening.
No, you could do it as, yeah.
That's what I'm trying to find out. It doesn't mandate.
You have choice.
Okay.
Let me clarify that. If we wait 10 years to do it, but if we wait a year to do it, we can't add on 10 years, you know?
No.
No.
You can go up to 33 years if you wait till year 10 to amend your plan.
So,
Okay.
and the clock doesn't start until the first
Project.
Well, the clock will actually start when the Board of Aldermen approves this first project, because at first, when they approve the plan, they also intend to approve the project that we're saying is the 2013 project in the stuff that, and what that is that 2013 redevelopment project, that is stuff that we think is going to happen first. And then there are other redevelopment projects will be things that will happen down the road a ways. We can,
So
we might, after you approve the map, we're going to talk about this.
Absolutely. So there's a motion, this is very emotional. There's a motion and a second to approve the hand-drawn map that Chauncey will bring back to us in a much more professional form. Any further discussion? All in favor? Do we have to vote? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Very good.
So, I think the next thing we need to address is what we just started talking about, Chauncey. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
It's a minute to get put back together.
You want this up?
I'll get it after a while. Last meeting, we talked about adding a couple items. We talked about non-commercial construction, new commercial construction, and also demolition and site development. And so that was $8 million for new commercial construction and $3 million for demolition and site development. And I just added those to this chart. Now, when we do that, Erica's going to have to go back and see every place we talked about the other dollar amount and then amend all of that. I think he did that already.
Is that page 25?
Page 25. Did you pass these out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just replace.
Where does the reading continue at? Because I've been trying to find where it goes. At the bottom of the page.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah. Pretty flat on stuff.
It kind of stops.
That's just you just replace this page one.
Well, I know, but actually this one here did the same thing. I couldn't find where it
You
took
go
off.
page 26.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Paragraph stopped. Yeah. I tried to find it. Yeah, then it goes to B.
I see, and then,
There was something already missing there.
Yeah, even the first time, it was the first, the first number.
See that,
On the first one, 25.
At the end of the paragraph, it just quit.
yeah, I got to sit
Nothing on the
active.
next, it does the same thing on the other one.
Yeah,
There's
we
no
lost.
further explanation.
We'll take care of that.
Yeah, that'll clean up. I mean, this binder will
Again, this is-
populate
Yeah, there's
pretty quickly going forward. Yeah, so that's just an amended page to please insert.
Well, I know, but if you read this,
So it'll be amended again.
Yes.
Yeah, this
Well, even
whole,
on the
this
old
whole
one,
document is got a lot of cleanup to do. And we didn't get too
Okay.
excited about it until we decided we wanted to figure out what the projects were going to be, what the area was going to be, so there's a lot of stuff we're gonna have to clean up.
found it somewhere else.
Did you? You
No.
found it? Yeah.
So, can you finish with that, Chauncey? So we got review of projects and budget. Next one.
That's what we need to do.
All right, we'll move on to item number 5 on the agenda, review of projects and budget. I think Chauncey will probably give us some guidance there, please.
Well, again, that's what this page 25 was, and whatever the world that was in item B that was cut off. Now, we'll get that back up to you probably latter part of this week. We'll email it out.
Any other business? Oh, pardon me. Kathy?
On new or old, page 25, there is that listing of projects. On page 20, there is also a listing of, doesn't have dollars associated with it, it's just, these are some projects being proposed. They aren't the same ones that show up on 25. Is it possible to prioritize the projects within the guidelines of the TIF? Or is it just scattershot, everybody starts something at one time? I mean, it seems to me on page 20, these items that are listed here could fairly easily be prioritized.
It's just not there yet.
I think most of that stuff is there.
In the draft form, well, your point's well taken, to prioritize these issues as we move forward in our process. Is that really where you wanted to be?
yes, I think that we need to consider that you just don't start everything at the same time, and clearly there's gonna be a plan, and the city's gonna do sewer improvements before somebody builds a building on top of it, or fixes a building on top of it. So I think for clarification and for public information, we need to prioritize the items on page 20. Not today necessarily, but for the final plan.
I guess I'd have to defer to the city to ask if you really want to prioritize these, or would you want to wait and see what kind of proposals come in from developers? I mean, as long as it is in the plan, I would have a problem with it having number one priority.
What is the advantage of putting them in order of priority?
Well, in my mind, I saw that some of these items clearly have a greater community impact than others. For example, if we are aware that there is environmental remediation to be done, or for whatever reason, on an existing property, that if that's a known given, that there is particulate groundwater, some kind of contamination occurring, that probably ought to be right up there at the top.
Well, I don't disagree with that in principle, but in terms of evaluating a project, you're going to use your weighting of these factors to approve or disapprove a project because it isn't high on your priority list.
Clearly, I can tell. I kept looking at this list today, and I think environmental remediation, water, sewer, and stormwater improvements are things that the city is going to do probably, as opposed to an individual developer, and maybe those things should be at the top of the list.
I think that's going to depend on each specific project. Many won't need environmental rehabilitation.
But much of this
or
is
remediation,
the kind of work that you do with the increment that is not obligated, now available for improvements within the district. So maybe the setting the priority is not a kind of bad expression, is a good expression of the policy of the city.
So
all of it.
A further discussion as we move through this process, but make sure that we don't miss this.
Okay.
Is that okay? That's the note I'm going to make. So, page 20. Does anyone else have any other business for the commission? We need to schedule our next meeting, so there'll be a lot of work to be done. Yeah, I think, Chauncey, you're going to drive a train. Mondays are good.
Yeah.
If that works for you.
I have another commitment on the first Monday of the month. As long as we could be finished by 7:20, I will be able to be.
Was that February 4th we're talking about?
Did you need more time
I'd
than
kind of
that?
like to have 2 weeks.
That's what I was thinking, you're gonna need
He's
more.
got quite a bit of work to do.
The 11th?
11.
I'm on
That's
town
the
the
levy
11th.
district, but they're usually done before you would be meeting.
Kathy's out of town.
I'm completely out of town, gone on the 11th, the 10th, 11th, and 12th. Does it have to be in the way? Well, 10th. More than a week, huh, Chauncey? The 4th
Yeah,
is pushing it?
I can't do the 13th or 14th.
Okay.
What about the 7th? Would that be your next meeting on Thursday evening?
I gotta
Is
be
that
at
a
Jeff City
board,
that day.
Alderman meeting?
No.
No, second or fourth.
The 6th would work for me.
14,
Give me another day.
There's a map, calendar will make a map.
A map of what? Map of numbers.
Wednesday night's okay?
The sixth.
I think let's just pick a night. I mean, there's no way to coordinate this many people at one time.
Yeah,
So,
right. You're
yeah,
exactly right.
throw the dart out there. We'll see what we can do. I think Chauncey, it's going to be very important that you can be here. But I'm pretty sure that's much more important that you're here than if I'm here. So, what works for you, I think we'll have to
Well,
discuss.
we'll have the
briefly.
biggest part of it, and we should be able to get all of the maps done, and so we'll have the biggest part of the exhibits and that type of thing, so we,
Well, yeah, the earlier the better for the purposes of notice.
Yeah, because you gotta get it out before March 4th.
well, the notice will be out tomorrow. I mean, we'll work on that and get it ready, so we can get it to the paper Thursday or Friday,
What's your date, Chauncey?
6th.
So, we're going to shoot for February the 6th at 6 o'clock. Unless that is an overwhelming conflict for most of us, let's pin that down.
6 o'clock, you said?
That concludes our.
And then what we'll have at that meeting, and we'll try to get this, if we get it done, we'll get it emailed out to everybody. A rewrite on the plan. I mean, there's a lot of holes in this thing. And we'll-
Is that it?
Move for adjournment?
Move adjourned.
Second.
In favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. What do you got?
Yeah, well,
That wasn't what I was.
you know this is rough.
Oh, yeah.